Welcome back, everyone, to Red Spotlight. I'm Alexis, and I'm joined by Alexis. Alexis Soto, I'm joined by Alexis Moreno here for... I don't know what we're going to do today, but here we are. The show that tries, most weeks anyway, to bring you everything coming out of the world of movies and more. And there's a lot happening. Today we're going to talk about the latest and greatest from Ryan Coogler. His film Sinners is literally catching the whole world by storm. Perfectly matched to the holiday that we had this week, the religious holiday called Easter. And then, of course, it's not only like a big film in terms of like its popularity, but its popularity is also, interestingly, has frightened some establishment cronies that we have to also mention, and I have to have a suspicion as to why that would be. And then anything else that we feel we want to discuss on here on Red Spotlight number 503. Alexis, there are a lot of places to start off with. I mean, the first thing I want to say is, how are you doing? Where have you been? I'm happy to see that you are alive in these very, very dangerous times that we're living in. Because, I mean, for all I know, you could have gotten kidnapped and sent to El Salvador for no reason whatsoever.
True. I've been good. I've been busy.
Yeah, I can... Yeah, so I would hope that people who are watching and listening would have a pretty good sense that it is hard to kind of like get a week to where she can have some availability in her schedule, but I'm happy to hear and see for myself that she is here. Definitely much better company than I have found myself in recent weeks, that's for sure.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. You do owe me an apology for that one, because, I mean, I've been subjected to a whole bunch of tomfoolery, as he would say. And this is where we are. You know, since last we spoke, I can't recall. So I don't even know the last time.
Oh,
but it was not the TikTok episode, was it?
We did. All four of us were here, right?
We did, but I don't remember what that show was.
We talked about Captain America.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was a long time ago. Okay, that was the last one that you and I were on at the same time. You know, but in my mind, at the beginning of this year, when the fires were happening, you and I had like a little bit of a, you know, kind of a recon and trying to like gauge to see how, you know, because the year had already began. It was, I think it was January when we recorded that episode, and things just seemed horrible already from the get-go, you know? And I think you and I were also trying to, like, if I'm not mistaken, at the time of that recording, we had not yet had him. So we were trying to, like, you know, in our minds, just trying to prepare ourselves a little bit, I guess, mentally and emotionally for what was to come. And I think we did a pretty bad job at that, because I don't think we knew things would be horrible. We knew things would be worse. Nothing that has happened, really, I think, was like unexpected. No, I mean, it's like, hey, shit's in complete disarray. There's chaos and turmoil every day. Is that a surprise? No, that's exactly what we like. It didn't even take 24 hours, and we were right back to 2017, 18, 19 era of just like chaos, breaking news. Exactly what we thought was going to happen is exactly what's happening. But to a far worse degree than just that. I think our mental peace and our anxiety seem to be the least of our concerns when it comes to what else is happening. You know, last week on this show, and I do not know if you've been listening in recent weeks, but last week we had a whole like half hour or so introduction to the show talking about Tariffgate and how a recession was incoming. And what's funny is like that recording happened about 24 hours before, surprise, surprise, that pussy reversed his positions. but not completely. By the way, if he loves grabbing it the way that he does, I shouldn't have to be made to feel bad that I'm calling him one, okay? He clearly loves it. The point is, he flip-flopped, but not really, and then the idiots in the market were like, yay, we get to live! And then, of course, 2 weeks later, they're down again. Oh, that's right, you kind of like gaslit yourselves into thinking a recession wasn't going to come. It's here. It's coming. And like we said last week, really one person's to blame for where we are right now. But again, like, this shouldn't be surprising, and it's not. All these things that are happening, I think, oh yeah, we could have called that a mile away. To his credit, though, it is a lot faster than I even anticipated. And this is what happens when you completely burn everything to the ground and you hire a bunch of yes men that will never say no to you. And this is where we are. What has changed this time versus last time, besides the obvious that we just mentioned? By the way, just to be clear here, of course, this is not a political podcast, but as we said last week, it is very much entangled with the movie world and everything I had mentioned. And I think so few people in this space go out and say, look, the reason why things are so bad with movies right now is deregulation. It's because Ronald Reagan and those conservative policies allowed multi-conglomerate corporations to buy up all the studios, and now their main mantra is not so much about, the human element of it, if it ever really was. I mean, there was a balance between that and obviously making money, but now more than ever, it's like when you let corporations rule everything, nothing will ever trump, no pun intended, the mentality of like, we have to keep profits going up and up and up no matter what. Even if we grow, that's still not enough. We have to have this threshold. That mentality has always been, I think, a flawed one, and why our civilization subscribes to that, perhaps in part, is why it's crumbling as we speak right now. Because we've kind of we've lost a grip here. I mean, if we have the supposed experts who tell us which way the economy is going, allow themselves to be bamboozled by somebody who changes his mind every 5 minutes on an economic policy, like, yay, we get to have a good day today. And then a week later, they're like, well, why is everything going down? What's happening? This is literally the world that we live in, okay? And so how does that guide movies? Well, these same idiots also control that space as well. So that's why it's all kind of entangled in the same thing. Now, what I was saying with earlier is all of this is sooner. And then, of course, that felt like it was 5 years ago. Then, of course, a wrongly person was deported, sent to a prison. The right-wing fascist court, by the way, said, that's a bit too much for us, dog. And then Trump was like, I don't know what you're talking about. That guy's MS-13 gang member. Bye. Okay, so we can just ignore the courts. Which, by the way, and this is, I'm never going to shut up about this, because just today, quick, the government is going to forcibly start charging people who have already said they're in default of their student loans. Today, they're going to be, well, whatever you get out of your paycheck, it's going to come to us. Meanwhile, that department's being shut down. But not that part. Okay, we're clear about that. I know you want to interject, Alexis, but give me a second. But
well, it's about the recording. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. The first part, my bad. There was like lines popping up, and I didn't like catch that. But continue. It's fine.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you had to start all over again.
No,
no, that's okay. If it's so you're like,
there's like, well, because I had it clicked on it, so there's like lines going across.
Okay. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know David's job. That's his department, man. I guess he'll figure that out. I know you don't know either. Okay, cool. And then he's just like, it would be funny if the previous president had that same mentality. Like, what did he try and do? Oh, he tried to get a $15 minimum wage passed all over the nation, which we still don't, by the way. He tried to get it passed, but he chose not to after the parliamentarians said we couldn't. Even though previous presidents would have fired that bitch, replaced him, and then gotten that minimum wage passed. No, they didn't do that. They tried to get voting rights reform passed, and they were like, "But Manchin and Sinema are in our way. There's nothing we can do." The Supreme Court struck down abortion. We were like, "There's nothing we can do." He tried to eliminate student debt, and then the Supreme Court said you can't do that after Republicans sued, mind you, of course. And then it was like, well, I guess we did all we could. You're telling me it was that easy to ignore a court's decision? That, mind you, is why people hate Democrats. That is why they have a 27% approval rating right now. Because when they're given power, they do nothing with it. Doesn't matter if they're in power or out of power. There's nothing we can do. The leader of the House Dems said, "What leverage do we have?" So yeah, we're just full-blown fascist. A bunch of idiots are running the country again. Okay, great. I saw a headline today that they literally are in the process of deporting a scientist who was just about to make it easier to capture cancer signs. Cool. Just great stuff here.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds about right. It sounds about right for everything that's happened. The courts, by the way, have not been that kind either. They've allowed him to just go ahead and deport students because they want to exercise free speech. Cool. All right. I don't seem to recall this ever being a linchpin of his campaign, right? Like, obviously it was in disguise, but like he never talked about it. I think his main thing was to like bring down costs, and the first thing he does is to increase the cost of everything. And then his supporters are like, "It's just temporary pain, or it's just money, guys. Who cares about money?"
All of a sudden,
yeah.
Mind you, I was in Chuck. We went to McDonald's yesterday. Mind you, it was 4 of us getting food. And it wasn't even a lot. It was breakfast. It was a small sandwich. I paid $90. We were laughing the entire time.
Because if you don't laugh,
you cry.
So this is what life is today. And of course, wouldn't you know it, the Pope also died. And that's important because we don't know which direction that church is going to go. And anyway, let's not mention that because we have enough misery right now in our lives. But I will tell you this. Despite the disorder and despite the calamity that we're in, there are signs to be encouraged about what's to come, despite the fact that a lot of it seems rather awful, right? I will tell you that, and I don't really pay too much attention to approval ratings anymore because, well, we saw the last election and how that turned out. That didn't really mean much of anything, did it? There are there's 2 changes. This time around versus last time, in pretty biblical, I think, fashion, a lot of those people who supported him are finding out the hard way what it meant to really think he would help you. So, this is just the reality where we live in. I mean, if you are not knowledgeable of the facts, you should probably dismiss yourself from consideration as to being a voter. The reality is, too many people who participate in these elections in this country are not very knowledgeable. about where we are in the state of things. And so this is what happens, right? But hey, you get what you voted for, right? This is where we are. But at the same time, I am surprised to see a couple of them, not even a couple, a lot of them. What's happened since the last time you and I spoke about this is that all over the country, there were a lot of their own voters that were going after them in their town hall meetings. So much so that they were like, okay, you know what? We're not going to hold these meetings anymore because we're just going to get yelled at and it makes us look bad. So they just canceled them, right? Well, a few Democrats who are not stupid and refuse to just be the same old, decided to be proactive and started having meetings in those particular districts where those congressmen said, we're not going to bother with you guys, right? And so that has been interesting. But I would say you cannot talk about one without the other. On the one hand, we have this authoritarian, fascist, supremacy that's about to just engulf all of us, and it is right now. We have a government that is tyrannical toward its citizens. I mean, they've already talked about in the future deporting U.S. citizens. So what I said earlier about you getting disappeared, that really wasn't a joke. That could have happened yesterday or tomorrow. And that's happening right here on this side. On the other side of things, because the Democratic Party has failed completely. They have just, because they refuse to change the higher ups, they've allowed a leadership vacuum to form. And I think they've not yet realized how much that's going to bite them in the ass. Because, again, the establishment of the Democratic Party really has been in the way for many, many years now. And they need to be obliterated. And you start that by having actual, authentic politicians who are popular with the people. Have them go out there, start organizing, and start capturing attention and seizing the moment. And in the time that you and I have not had a chance to discuss this, there has been a movement. We've referenced it in the last, I think, week or so. It's called the Fight Oligarchy Tour. And these rallies that Bernie and AOC have been doing have basically, and it's kind of ingenious because I don't even think because who they are, clearly their priority was not to run and be like the, inheritors of what Democratic Party politics are going to be. What they went out there is they saw literally no one is doing anything about it. Literally, what are we doing here? Like, the country is being taken over and we're not going to do anything? That's literally what was happening. And so they went out there and you're like, you know what? Okay, I have to do something. We have to go out there and speak out about this. And then it kept building and building, and then AOC joined, and then it built and built and built. And now, in the last 2 weeks, I don't know if you've noticed this, Alexis, but I've kind of smelled some fear in some of those establishment cronies at the top of the Democratic Party, because they're like, what's happening here? I mean, it's like,
in regards to them, or in regards to, people kind of being like, oh, I mean, because, for example, granted, this is, not the best example, but, the CEO of Target, I don't know if you've seen that they felt the repercussions of people not shopping there, and he's kind of questioning now, hey, what's going on?
No,
is that what you
that's
mean?
Much too important.
Or?
No, that's much too important for them to care about. Clearly, they're more concerned with their own positions of power, is what I meant to say. I mean, of course, they're the same people who said last week, maybe we shouldn't be talking about the guy that got deported because that's a distraction. So again, this is the dodo birds that we're dealing with here. No, they're kind of concerned that AOC and Bernie have beaten them to the race and have gotten a head start on 2028 in terms of faces that are going to be very popular with presidential candidates. I mean, like right now, I think what makes AOC an interesting person is I don't think she really wants to be president. I don't think she wants to do it, but I think she's beginning to realize it's gonna have to be. It's like that classic situation of like the person that does not want to lead, but is kind of like called to it because there's literally no other option. And I feel like we're at that moment because right now we're very early in the year. We're still years away from the primary.
We're literally 3 months in, or 4 months in.
Yeah, like... basically. But if you look at the numbers, she has made substantial gains in those early polls. What's really interesting is Kamala Harris is not going to happen. I don't think anybody ever thought that was going to be the case, but of course she will be number 1 in the polls because she has name recognition and she was the most recent candidate. But if we already have a poll, a national poll that says that she's at 28 and AOC's at 21, 3 years out, she shouldn't run. Kamala don't even bother running. So, and what's even more, I think, positive is they're drawing out thousands of people in red areas of the country, and that's beginning to turn some wheels. And then we have a new vice chair who happens to be Parkland shooting survivor, David Hogg, who is now the vice chair of the DNC. We finally have one of our own in there, and he said this week, you know what? We need to get rid of some of these people in our own ranks because they're not doing their job. And this is the beginnings of what we have to do to take control back of the country. We cannot continue with the same guard because they have lost so many times. I was having this discussion with Peter in the past couple of days, and we said, look, 2020 was a fluke. 2020 was a Democratic victory for one and one reason only: COVID. They ran the same campaign as they did in 2016. They ran the same campaign as they did in 24. If it were not for COVID, they would have lost 3 presidential elections in a row. These are losers, and they need to be removed. They should not be anywhere near the levers of power, especially when it comes to finding out how to win an election. So things are getting so much worse with the current administration and with, power and chaos. But unlike the last time he was the president, there is actual movement happening in the party that could. Now, I say could because, there's a big question if there will be a fair election in a couple of years. Because, of course, what happens? The Democrats don't have any control right now. So that's going to be, we're going to be left up in suspense what that's going to take. But there are some things and some signs happening in the world out there to be encouraged that people are not, they're not buying the bullshit as much anymore, especially because of how blatant everything kind of like is going on. Usually with a president like Trump, they kind of wait a couple of months before they actually like take a turn and have like an overall negative public opinion. This kind of happened off the bat. So here we are. I don't know. I've gotten this sense that more and more people lately are just like, they're just not buying the bullshit. And we have been radicalized by this administration. And like, you know what? It's time to stop like treating everything with kitty gloves. And one thing this relates to our movie world is a few weeks ago, you were not here for this. I think you were out. But when Snow White came out and we talked about how Disney was very much colluding with Variety to bury Rachel Zegler and make her the scapegoat for why that film failed, it was a bit one too many times. And a whole bunch of people came out, and even celebrities like Melissa Barrera and Pedro Pascal came out and like, hey, called out the bullshit. Even Barrera was like, hey, the same author that
Variety
that targeted me. Yeah, that's the thing. Variety has taken a hard right turn. Variety right now, this is why I'm saying people are they're not eating it up. They're calling it out. And this year people have called out their treatment of Rachel Zegler. They've called out how they're trying to weirdly rehabilitate, what's his name? Jonathan Majors. And then, of course, this week, it was a very strange situation. Everybody smoked them because they had this headline saying that Sinners, the latest film by Ryan Coogler, was like solid, even though it was way better than that. No one was expecting it to be $60 million. And their whole framing of it was like, well, it's solid, but it has a $90 million budget.
Uh-huh.
Bitch, they're going to make up that money pretty quickly. And you know that. So what are you saying here? And everybody was like calling them out, like, what is your game?
Yep.
So yeah, you're right. Variety lately has been kind of shit. And what I have changed, I think what goes hand in hand with like the movie world and the political world is that there are people out there who are, you know what, enough. I am tired, and I'm not gonna fall for it anymore. And like what I was saying with the Zegler thing, that Zegler thing backfired on them.
Yep.
They were not able to pull that off. And Disney themselves are just like, they kind of backed off a little bit because they realized that was not going to work out the way they thought it would be. Your thoughts overall? I know I ranted a little bit and I had, kind of like catching us up to where we are since last you and I were talking about these particular issues. But I want to get to your thoughts on all of these things, and please feel free to talk for a half hour because I definitely ate up so much time. Go ahead.
You're okay. I mean, yeah, even though we don't talk here, we talk outside of here, and I think pretty much everything that you said, like, I think all of us agree and see these things and are just kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And again, it's this, if you don't laugh, you cry, because it's like, I don't know. My only thing is, like, last time did feel very, like, everything felt very hopeless, like, what the fuck, dude? And I think it was mainly because it kind of came, like...
When you say last time, you mean...
the time he was president.
2017, then,
yes. Yeah. Like, I feel like we weren't expecting it. And so now, like how you said earlier, we were a little bit more prepared. Not as prepared as we probably should have been. But... I don't know. There's a lot of things that have happened that, like, have not been good, and it further kind of, I don't know, it makes me so angry, and I'm trying not to be, but I know that it's fair for me to be, and it's okay, but at the same time, it's like, no, like, I don't also, like, want to live my life that way, but, like, it's hard to, like, turn away from it.
No, we all have to find our moments of escape because things are quite dour. I mean, this year, to really sell home the point of how dire things are going to get, I think the Supreme Court, they're going to hear a case about whether or not to end birthright citizenship. Like, if you take that away, you're beginning to unravel the fabric of this country. Because if they take that away...
Then what does this all mean? Like...
That's the one thing that makes everybody here an American. So, again, it's like, things have just gotten so bad. And it didn't have to be this way. It didn't at all have to be this way. Like, all of these are crises that have been started because... not so much Trump. Trump's kind of like a figurehead. It's all the people around him that want to fundamentally reshape this country. They want to destroy the infrastructure. They want to basically take down, I guess, the quote-unquote liberal order, which isn't really liberal. It's always been conservative. And what they want to do is they want to make it even more conservative. And again, the same bitches who were, again, for years and years and years, like, cancel culture, you're against free speech. What do? They literally are kicking people out of the country based on the fact that they disagree with them. You can't get any more cancel culture-y than that. So, but yeah, and then also wanted to get your thoughts on Variety, especially, and then of course people's things there.
I don't know, just like everything that I've seen, even like outside of this, they maybe it's not like the best example, but they named like the Woman of the Year. I don't know if it was like here or I think it was because I think she did her speech in English. but they named like their Woman of the Year for or to be Angela Aguilar, who's like a Mexican singer. Her dad is Pepe Aguilar, who's like a big, well, they come from like a big like Mexican dynasty type of thing. And even that was kind of like, wait, for why? Like, I don't understand. I don't know, just like things that they've been doing, I'm just kind of like, okay. No. And the Snow White stuff, I mean, honestly, I'm glad everybody was like, nah. Because, yeah. And, like, I don't know, the way that they, like, wrote things and responded to things, I'm just kind of like, you guys, like, I don't know if, like, they actually believe all of these things, or if they're just, like, trying
a mouthpiece?
Yeah, like, it's crazy.
There's a comment here that I wanted to pull up from the Reddit, the Big Picture podcast. Some commenters made some really interesting points. One saying, remember the studios and all parent companies, the battle is not to save the industry. It's to retain the industry as it is with the existing power dynamics. Anything that is different or is rethink of how something that has traditionally worked challenges this. Somebody else mentioned it's like the Democratic Party. They'd rather lose with the existing power structure in place than win by shaking things up. And someone else responded, 100%. They only know how to speak one language, so that's the only way they are willing to communicate. It's just like this is what happens when, and that's the other problem that we want to talk about is like, look, it's like we can't even have a fair discussion about like, conservative, progressive, all that stuff when the reality is all the press are owned by the corporations and the corporations are conservative. I mean, the right-wing fascistic steps, they bent their backs backward to just like clap Trump's inauguration. That should have been an eye-opening moment. I think it was, honestly, for a lot of people. Like, oh, you people are shit. Like, you don't have, not only do you have no convictions, you're just evil. But it is interesting when it comes to, the space that, talking about movies, because we're in a very interesting time. Why is it that Variety chose this movie to give it a... Look, this is the headline that Variety's tweeted out. Sinners has amassed $61 million in its global debut. It's a great result for an original R-rated horror film, yet the Warner Brothers release has a $90 million price tag before global marketing expenses, so profitability remains a ways away. So they're not saying the film is, doing terribly. It's saying it's doing good, but it put that qualifier out there. And then there were some people who were saying, well, wait a minute, it made the exact same amount of money that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did a couple of years ago with almost the exact same price tag. And you guys, they literally dug up that Variety tweet and like, that's not what you said here. So what was the, what? Sean Fennessy, of course, tweeted this, retweeted it, I should say. And he says, there is a 0% chance Sinners will be unprofitable over time. PVOD numbers, which are not made publicly available, alone will push it past break even. Studios are incentivized to make the final tally opaque, especially when participation is a factor. There's a massive financial literacy issue in box office and film reporting, and the ways in which bad or context-free info is regurgitated. Well, that I think assumes the fact that they're acting in good faith. I think some people, especially Variety, I don't think they're acting in good faith. I think they're literally at the point where they're just writing the narrative that the people who pay them want to be put out there. Well, okay, well, why? What did Ryan Coogler do to piss somebody off in this particular circumstance? Oh, gee, I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the fact. By the way, Sinners is the first original film to make that much in its opening weekend since I think the pandemic, which is like 5 years. So that's a big thing. It got an A cinema score, which is the highest rating for a horror film in a decade. So I think the metrics speak for themselves. It is a universally loved movie. It has almost 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, so why is Variety not getting on the bandwagon? What did Ryan Coogler do that scared some of them? Before the numbers came out, there was a story that said that, and why would it be this important? Because, well, it was obviously important enough that it was getting around. And obviously some people in the industry were so put off by it that they felt the need to make it into a big story, which is why we know about it right now. Otherwise, it would not really be a big thing. But they're afraid of it. And what is this thing I'm talking about? Well, it turns out that Ryan Coogler might have done something that some others in his group might do in the future. When he was signing on to do this film, by the way, his idea, he really wanted to be out there and do a film of his own and not, do another franchise or whatever it be. But he had it in his mind, I think, after working closely with people like Sly Stallone, who does not own the rights to that franchise, Rocky, which I think everybody would think that, he should, because he is Rocky, basically. But basically, this was something that Ryan Coogler from the very beginning, I felt, recognized. I think it's fair that at some point I should own this, since this is mine, technically. The way that the studio system works is that directors never own their films. The studio always owns it. And over the weekend, there were very, very many people making whispers and murmurs in the background. Powerful people who were like, why did WB do this? What did they do? Oh, they basically in their negotiations agreed that after the passing of 25 years, the rights to the film Sinners would revert back to the Coogler estate, and Warner Brothers would not own that film anymore. When that headline came out, I immediately had in my mind the only thing that I could possibly compare this to was the original deal that George Lucas negotiated with 20th Century Fox, RIP, back in the 1970s for Star Wars.
And you know what? That like makes sense, because I've been watching a lot of his interviews, and in almost all of them, he mentions a conversation he had with George Lucas. That and he'll just say little bits and pieces here, but you could tell that conversation really impacted him. So, I mean, that tracks.
And it's interesting because, I feel, I feel like most people would read that headline and be like, cool, man, that's great for you. I think normal people would not be like, oh no, whatever will we do?
The only people who would do that are the studios.
Which, of course, brings us to the headline and the framing of it, per se, for why it is that it was. It's actually quite interesting. On first glance, my mind would not go immediately to oh my god, this could be the end of the studio system. I doubt that would happen, but it would be fascinating to see. First of all, I'm kind of amazed Warner Brothers said yes to this.
I know.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this happened during the pre-Zaslav era where something just kind of went by or whatever, but I don't know. But I think it would be pretty amazing if this would encourage other directors and creatives of Coogler's stature or higher to negotiate deals like that for themselves. Because ultimately, I feel like, well, if we're not going to have regulation, if we're not going to have a government in place that breaks up these studios, if we're not going to have a government in place that prevents them from being bought up from each other and merging even further on, then perhaps this would be an alternative way of tackling that problem, which would be to not allow the studios to own as much as they already do now. And that prospect, when you take a step back and you think about it, it's like, that's interesting. And I feel like some people would feel like this would be bad, I guess, if they're already in the powers that be category, right? But I feel like, well, this might be one way. I think we need to weaken the studio system. We need to go back to the era of the 70s, where the studio system was like devastated. And it was in that era where, guess who came along? Lucas, Coppola, Scorsese, De Palma, Spielberg. All those people came in that same amount of time. And they really changed the world. They changed the industry because of their success. But they would never have been given the positions that they were if it weren't for the fact that the studio system had been so devastated. And perhaps we just need to go back to that. Because surely the corporations aren't going to budge. So that would be interesting to see. That would be my hope, is that more creatives would be empowered to put this on the negotiating table. And I'd say that's pretty fair, because, I mean, a quarter of a century is a very long time. It is a very, very long time. And I think that's more than fair to Warner Brothers, I would say. So whoever negotiated that deal, props on you for allowing that, and good for Coogler for that to happen. But again, I feel like when you put all these things together, it goes to show you just the game that's being played right now, especially with Variety. So, yeah. We will talk about Sinners a little bit later, but there are some other things that I want us to just, go over. And there was something that came out just today that I thought was very interesting, because, we're talking about the theme so far in today's episode is talking about the established order and the established way of doing things, and then also some proposed alterations or changes that may need to be made to respond to ongoing criticism. Well, unexpectedly today, and this comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, the Film Academy announced that for the 98th Oscars, there are some new policies that are going to be put into place. By the way, some of these are actually pretty hilarious, because I think the overwhelming response that I've seen by normies out there would be like, this wasn't already a thing.
You would think.
You would think, but it would not be. So here's Jonathan, let's see here. Jonathan MB32 from Twitter said this: turns out all those brutally honest Oscar ballot pieces with voters openly admitting they hadn't watched all the nominees might have done some good. Which, by the way, maybe you idiots shouldn't have done that. Maybe you shouldn't have gone to the press and like, oh, I didn't watch this movie, but I still voted for this part. No. We have been saying for years and years and years on this show of a great many problems with the people who call themselves Oscar voters and their ideas and practices. One of the ones that have become, I think, kind of insurmountable in terms of like how bad it really is now is just the flat out laziness. And I feel like what exactly spurred, maybe it was those brutally honest Oscar ballots that got some attention. Maybe it was too many years in a row where that was happening. Maybe it could be some people were like, well, why did Honora win so many? Not that it wasn't deserving, but why did Honora get so many sweeps? On top of like Oppenheimer getting so many sweeps and Everything Everywhere All at Once getting so many sweeps. The reality is, and we have talked about the long history of the Academy, these sweeps aren't a normal thing. They're just something that's happened in this new era. And our suspicion was because the voters were just not watching the things. They were too lazy to see anything, and they were just voting for whoever their friends said they should vote for. Which, again, really just destroys even further, if that was even possible, the credibility of this awards body. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Here's the whole excerpt. The Academy is now making it harder for members to vote in categories in which they have not watched all the nominees, which BAFTA has done for several years. Something that, based on anecdotal evidence, has become more of a concern for the Academy in recent years, since the organization massively expanded its membership and brought in a lot of younger members who are busier with their careers. In the past, wait, let me do a double take on that sentence. What did it say? Wait a minute here. Since the organization massively expanded its membership and brought in a lot of younger members who are busier with their... Do you see what they're trying to do with that sentence here? They're trying to put the blame. Oh, why are the Academy not watching their things? They're trying to put the blame on the newer people that they invited into the group. No, those people I trust are actively watching it because they actually are passionate. Clearly, this is the older generation, the ones that kind of have to go, kind of like establishment Democrats in the Democratic Party. They kind of have to go because they're not doing their freaking job. Notice how that just kind of carries over no matter the industry? They're just kind of standing in the way, doing nothing. And notice how whoever wrote this was clearly told to say this so as not to offend the older Academy members. Even though we damn well know they're the ones who don't watch anything. And they openly admit this. This is not me just making it up out of thin air. It's not just those, every year we have those brutally honest Oscar ballots. It's not just that. You know, we have Pete Hammond from Deadline says every year on the Gold Derby podcast, yeah, I talk to voters and they say, well, I haven't watched any of the movies yet. This was in January, which was like the month the nominations came out. So I just wanted to stop there because that sentence is like, no. Do you disagree with that, by the way?
Nope.
Yeah, that felt very like, no. In the past, voters were always asked not to vote if they hadn't watched all of the nominees, but the process operated entirely on an honor system. If anything, if life in 2025 has taught me anything, is society... There's no honor system in anything. There's no honor system in anything. That's just not... And we can't function. We can't rely on that for anything anymore. Moving forward, though, the Academy's e-voting system in the final round of voting will not allow members to access the ballot for categories in which they have not demonstrated that they have watched all of the nominees. The Academy will track viewing via the members-only Academy Screening Room streaming app, which they have a streaming service where they can watch everything. They can watch not just the nominees, everything. All of the studio's movies. They're just there. And they still can't be bothered to watch everything. In case people who are like, what?
And so this is how you know. Okay, maybe this is a little mean. Maybe I shouldn't say it. I was going to say, this is how you know it's the older people, because it's an app. I'm sorry.
It's not mean. It's the reality of it. But now they're going to be able to track to see if they've watched it, which is very interesting. As for films consumed elsewhere, like at screenings or film festivals, etc., members will have to fill out a form declaring when and where they watched a film. In the past, members had to do this in order to vote in the preliminary and nomination rounds for Best International Feature, Animated Feature, Animated Short, and Live Action categories. This will presumably result in less coattail voting. That last sentence there. This will presumably result in less coattail voting. That means basically what's been happening, which is a lot of these members don't watch the nominees, but they still vote anyways based on who their friends say they should vote for. Alexis, your thoughts?
I mean, it is a bit shocking that they're like, oh, maybe we should do something about this. So, good for them. And that's what these people get. Like, it's literally your job. I don't know what to tell you. And it's not like it's hard.
It's like, especially like, it's, if you happen to be an Academy member who is like shocked about this, I have to like wonder, it's like, well, I mean, you kind of went to the press and bragged about not doing your job. I mean, it's like, yeah, I didn't watch the movies.
Okay.
But I still voted. You see, it's like, it's moments like these, like, this is why, I've been saying it for many years now at this point. This is why the Academy should not be taken as seriously as they want to consider themselves to be.
I didn't know that BAFTA was, like, the one that was, like...
Yeah, me neither. That was surprising, because I don't really like them very much either, but, like, I guess they had that thing covered. Which I guess is something, even though their taste is horrible. Because they always stick us with films that are just like, what are you doing here? Every year without fail. Meanwhile, they completely like block all my favorites. Again, every year without fail. So I don't care for them very much. And the feeling very much is mutual. But I mean, one would hope that this results in, this is a positive step forward. In terms of the context of this rules, I'm sure there are ways to get around it. I'm sure there's like loopholes and everything. But I think the important thing is that it makes it not as easy.
Yeah.
And
there's at least a system in place for
it
not to happen as often.
Yeah.
And for people to shut the fuck up and not be bragging about it.
I guess like, if you're a voter, okay. If anything, this probably was put there to stop voters from going to the press and telling them, hey, I didn't watch any of the nominees, because that's a very bad look. So for one, that this should be communicated that you should stop doing that. Number two, okay, well, if we wanted to get around this, well, we could just say that we watched all these movies. We would have to fill out literally a piece of paper for every single movie. That we watched this movie here and there. Which can be done, but the point is it's cumbersome. It's not something people would want. Who would want to fill out a piece of paper for every single movie they watch just to be able to vote? That would hopefully discourage those lazy pieces of shit from voting in that category, which they shouldn't be able to do. I mean, that's a fairly, I think, accepted idea, is that you should not be allowed to vote in a category for which you have not seen all the nominees. That's like about as fair as it can get. So, yeah, it's unexpected that this happened. But it's, let me see some else. They also had some smaller changes. Here's another one. In a major departure from 97 years of tradition, the board has implemented what one might call the Diane Warren rule. Which, by the way, Diane Warren is... we joke about her every year, but she's been nominated like 20 freaking times and never won for Best Original Song. Every year she's in there. Like, I mean, every year she writes a song and she loses every year. She already has an honorary Oscar, but she has never won a competitive one. And people keep... This is the thing that keeps being brought up. So I guess they have a new rule called the Diane Warren rule.
That sucks. I would hate that for me.
Well, I would hate to be her, because Billie Eilish is like how many years younger, and she won twice before she won once. Yeah. And that category, mind you, that same category. That's what makes her sting even more. That widely admired songwriter has received 16 Best Original Song Oscar nominations from her peers in the music branch, but has never won. In part because the final ballot that is sent to the full membership, and I cannot believe I'm reading this, has never listed the names of individuals who are nominated, aside from actors. That means that when it comes to the final round of voting for Oscar voters, the only names that they get are the actors' names when it comes to Best Actor, Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress. When it comes to all the other categories, whether it be animation, international, cinematography, editing, and song, they do not see any of the people's names on the ballot. They only see the name of their movie. So, for example, if they were going to vote for Billie Eilish's songs, What Was I Made For? Her name would not be on the ballot. It would just be, What Was I Made For? Barbie. This, and again, okay, well, why is this being changed? Maybe they just want her to win.
But like that also makes sense. I mean, maybe it won't. Maybe I mean I want to believe that these people, these voters, are well versed in these people and who but they don't even watch them. So what do I know? But I mean, granted, this is like me and my family. We usually like print out ballots and then we'll vote on Oscar night just to keep it fun. They don't know anybody. They'll just vote for the movie. So, I mean, I guess that makes sense. But again, I feel like I'm expecting too much of these people.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, this is why a couple years ago, the cinematography Oscar was like, it had a big spotlight on it because everybody wanted Roger Deakins to win finally for Blade Runner 2049. But the problem is his name is not on the ballot. Mm-hmm. It's only Blade Runner. So they had to really get a movement there to get that thing going. Mm-hmm. It continues. Had more voters realized that Warren was associated with a particular nominated project, say the nominated tune Until It Happens to You from the documentary The Hunting Ground, they probably would have been more inclined to support it. Moving forward, though, all designated nominees in all categories will now be listed, thank God, on the final ballot. So again, all designated nominees in all categories, not just a song one, will now be listed on the final ballot. Which is like, again, one of these things like, you weren't already doing this? I I'm really curious to see what else they do here. Again, these are supposed to be for the 98th Oscars, which are going to air next year, March 2026. By the way, they already confirmed that Conan O'Brien will be coming back.
Yay.
So that's great. It means that it was a success. Finally, they had something actually go well for them in like 10 plus years of like failure after failure, right? Like that was, yeah. Let me see what else here. I guess they're going to be adding shortlists for another category, cinematography. Because only some categories have shortlists for, which is weird. Why some do and some don't. So I guess they're going to be adding it for cinematography. And this is a weird situation. Earlier this year, when who were the people that announced the nominees? It was Bo Yang, and yes. Who else? Somebody else. They were announcing the Best Picture nominees, and what was funny is that for half of them, they were like, nominees to be determined. Was it
the voice of Moana?
No, I don't think it was her. I don't think so.
What was it?
It says here, to avoid a repeat of an awkward situation at the most recent Oscar nominations announcement, when many Best Picture nominees were announced with their producers still to be determined, the Academy is now requiring films to submit their PGA mark certification or awards only determination earlier than in the past. Okay. I guess that's fine. Oh, and then there's also this. In the aftermath of an awards season in which artificial intelligence became a hot button topic, thanks to the revelations about its employment on the Brutalist and Emilia Perez, the Academy is now acknowledging the issue without actually restricting it in any way. Great. The following language has been introduced into the rules for film eligibility at the recommendation of the Council. With regard to generative AI and other digital tools used in the making of the film, the tools neither help nor harm the chances of achieving a nomination. The Academy and each branch will judge the achievement, taking into account the degree to which a human... Okay, well, nothing. It's literally nothing.
They said we don't care.
Yeah. That was literally what that was.
That's fine.
Okay. So that's that. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see how it goes, I guess, next year.
It would be interesting because I feel like if it does, I think we'll know if it actually changes anything.
Yeah.
If like we have, like I didn't even realize this myself, but like, you know, that last podcast where Peter and David and I were talking about the Oscars review, and I had mentioned like, well, the first year that I was watching it, I vividly remember that all the winners in the major categories were from different movies.
Mm-hmm.
Argo, Best Picture, Life of Pi, Director, Lincoln, Actor, Silver Linings Playbook, Actress, Django Unchained, Supporting Actor, and Les Miserables in Supporting Actress. Like, that wouldn't happen today. Half of those would go to the same movie. I don't like that. I like to spread the wealth around, honestly. So I'm hoping that this is going to result in some meaningful change. So, I don't know. We're like about an hour into this, and there are some reasons to be hopeful. Color me surprised. Like, whoa, this is actually interesting stuff going on here. So how are we going to find a way to bring this down? All right, let's see here. You know what? Not yet. Let's. Okay. Well, we'll see. Let's try and keep the hope alive so far. Superman.
I haven't seen anything besides the trailer.
I haven't seen anything except for
I think there was a new trailer, but I haven't watched it.
No, there wasn't a trailer. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. Like, we were gonna do a reaction on it. I'm gonna put all cards on the table here. We were gonna try and do a reaction to it. Right? But it wasn't really like a trailer for it. It was like it was the same trailer, but it was like it was extended a little bit. But it was like for the most part the same thing. Here I want to play something for you. That was for Superman Day. It was more like a behind the scenes thing, but it was speaking about James Gunn. What was interesting is like, you know, this may have some negativity towards it, but like, you know, I want to ask you if you've seen anything before I even play this. How do you feel things are right now? Like, I want to say that there is a substantial amount of people based on the data that are really excited for Superman, but as usual, the loudest voices on the internet are kind of dictating, and they're trying to put this mirage out there that there's like an overwhelming negative thing to it. And then they were like, and it's all stemming from people who are either DC stans or Zack Snyder stans who are hell-bent on making James Gunn fail. And people who just don't think Gunn has it, and they're just so wrong about everything. Alexis.
I will say, I have removed myself from Twitter.
I think that's a healthy choice.
And that has helped. Not only with this conversation that we're having, but in my personal life. And so I don't see that anymore.
Good.
And I realized that I follow a lot of people that love Superman, and they're just hyping me up.
Yeah, I mean, not to like bring you down, but like, there's like, I mean, it's not that negative because like these are just stupid and dumb things. Like I remember when the trailer came out, people were complaining that like, why did Superman get hurt or surprised that when a rock hit him in the head? Again, that's the level of baby brain that we're dealing with. I saw this video, Real Rejects. Coy Jandra was on there along with I forget the other guy's name, but they were talking about like the Superman hype, and then of course a lot of the dumb fan arguments being made. People were mad at Crypto. First of all, they don't like Crypto being in the movie to begin with. Second of all, they're like, why is Crypto strong enough to hurt Superman? Why is Superman groaning in pain? Because Crypto is like on him.
Yeah. Okay. I know that people have been like super nitpicky about all of it. Like I remember when the trailer came out and people were like, the color. Ah. Okay. Yeah.
I even saw some people like they're still, and they will never get over the suit. But I saw an edit where they made the blues darker and they took away the trunks, and like, you're just making it Henry Cavill. Like you're just really showing what you think. Yeah. What discussion they were having also on Real Rejects is really interesting because like Superman comes out at a time where I think we sorely do need it, because a lot of people, we're living in this era where like, Superman is inherently good, and being good is apparently not like popular and not appreciated.
The morally gray characters are
yeah.
Which obviously we love those,
yeah, but
we don't need those all the time. It's okay to just be good. It's okay to, have hope.
Yeah. Here, let me... Well, no, I'm not going to do it because you kind of limit it what you can do. Let me just play the thing, and then you go watch it later. This is the behind the scenes.
Being a child, I loved the purity of Superman. It was a time when I was starting to understand what movies were.
James didn't know that Superman was in his future. He wasn't sure that that was the one he should be doing. And then he called me one day and he said, I have a way in. I know what I want to talk about it.
I had been trying to crack it for years. This character's noble, and he's beautiful.
We just finished day 1 on Super.
By the way, I'm going to stop right here. What's striking when you see this footage is, there are sets. They went to actual sets. This was James Gunn talking, obviously, by the way, and the takeaway that people got from this is, like, why is the marketing focusing so much on James Gunn? That was what fans were, like, saying. It's like, Superman should be the focus, not James Gunn. Yeah, I don't know. DC fans, I don't know if you've noticed, but DC movies have been crashing and burning for 10 years now. Maybe lead with somebody who's been attached to successful films. Like, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy? That's going to make normies go out there and watch that movie. Right? Anyway, this is Brosnahan talking.
Superman.
It's been a hell of a week at the office.
His scripts are so unique, his stories, they're heartfelt. We love the opportunity to play with the incredible DC library of characters and stories, and we really want to do justice for them.
Welcome to the Daily Planet. It's been so much fun to have the gang together finally.
I wear my trunks on the outside of my pants. Like, it's liberating.
James in his stories, he does it with heart.
Superman is a character who's good.
Who is filled with hope. He saves people because it's the right thing to do. We could use a little bit more of that.
Superman was my original superhero, and it started in comics, and I think it's going to be a game changer.
This is the beginning of the future.
They are launching a new era right now.
It's the beginning of a whole new adventure and a whole new universe.
Yeah, that's basically it. Anyway, again, now it's obviously more effective if you're watching the images, because like you're seeing a lot of physical stuff. You're seeing like even the robots that they actually built. They're not just CG, which is like crazy. So again, what is like so not discussed, and what should be the point, is that James Gunn did not go into this production, and he stressed this himself, until the script was done. That alone makes this production radically different than everything else in the blockbuster space, because everybody else is taking the approach like, we're not going to have a script. Who cares about the writing? Well, we'll make it up as we go along. Let's just go ahead and shoot right now. Like Fantastic Four, which comes out, what, a month after? So
I didn't realize how fast Thunderbolts is coming out.
when is it coming out? Because I forget that it even existed.
In 2 weeks.
Oh. Okay. Anyway, the posters, by the way, have been actually really cool for Superman. I don't know, like, I've been one of these people who's just like, I've been just sitting back and watching, and every little thing that they're dropping is like, that looks good. That looks good. And then what gets me frustrated is like, there's even a bunch of like normie people out there who are not like, you know, bigots or like idiots, or like even kind of like, they're not sure what to make of this because it has things like Crypto or other characters, and then like, it's a comic book movie. I don't know. Alexa, so far I have seen nothing that deters me from my excitement for this movie. Like, it's one of these things like where, and it's been a while since it's been this way, but it's one of these things where like everything that I'm seeing is like just another, like, you add a couple more points for like how much excitement this is making you feel.
Yeah. Agreed. I can't wait.
Yeah, me neither. This may turn negative, but we'll see where we go. Not everything from Star Wars Celebration was negative. I will say this. Did you get a chance to see that trailer for the Tales from the Underworld? Do you know what that is?
I did not watch a single thing. The only thing I watched...
That trailer, by the way, was not released then. It was from a couple weeks ago. Okay, so it had nothing to do with Celebration. So in the last 2 years, we've had these limited series called Tales of the Jedi, or Tales of the Empire.
Those are pretty good. I like those.
Yeah, I think this one might be the best one yet, because
I did see somebody write that.
It focuses on two characters, and they're two great characters. Half of it will be on Cad Bane, and the other will be on Asajj Ventress.
Literally gonna cry. Do you think they're gonna do it?
What?
Her story?
It seems, based on the trailer, that this is after her resurrection. Whatever that looks like. I think it's gonna show her still being a bounty hunter in the age of the Empire, but she's gonna be helping out Jedi in the Path. I think. Remember that place called the Path, which is like some people are going to be helping out.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because her boyfriend, or I guess ex-boyfriend, I don't know what the situation is after her death. You know, I know. But in the Obi-Wan show, one of the Jedi whose name was thrown out there was Quinlan Vos, as someone who was still out there and was helping people with the Path, which was basically the Underground Railroad, but for Jedi, during the Age of the Empire. For those of you who are not aware what that means. So this may be how Ventress gets involved in that. And if you watched her episode last year in The Bad Batch, she seemingly has already encountered some individuals that are Force sensitive, so Oh, and the trailer kind of showed her coming face to face with an Inquisitor, so that's going to be interesting. So that's some good stuff because you know what? I've been 10 years now. Like, give me some Ventress material. Here we are. I'm not going to bitch about that. I'm going to happily watch that. So that's coming. That's something good to be excited about. Okay. What else? This one's interesting because I think like what was cool about some details that were released at Celebration was that they were actually putting a big emphasis on Lucasfilm Animation, how this is the 20th anniversary, which is like amazing, right? And of course, they announced a new animated series that'll be succeeding in the same vein of Bad Batch and Tales or whatever. Apparently, we're going to have a Darth Maul animated series that takes place 1 year. 1 year after the event of the Clone Wars. I think it's called Shadow Lord. Don't really know exactly what the story will be here. I mean, we're just going to be watching Maul, and I'm never going to say no to seeing more of Maul, you know? So I feel like, sure.
Okay.
And
it's animated? All right.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
The animated stuff, I think, always just, it's good. Like, I'm going to be enjoying it, so... Again, we're just full of positivity today, aren't we? Let's keep it up. One more. We're on the precipice of the arrival of what has supposedly been touted as one of the best seasons of television.
I have been thinking about
Andor.
This non-stop. Before we got on, I was watching the recap. Like, it's been so long. I can't wait.
It has been a long time. Has it been since 22?
I don't know. It's so long.
I think it was the fall of 22. And now we're in the spring of 25. Huh. It's been a long time since that happened. But and interestingly enough, it's like when you talk about the moment that we're living in history, it just feels like it was meant to be. You know, considering the subject matter of Andor and where we are right now, it's a bit eerie when you look and think back on like, oh, all this stuff happening. But no, genuinely, I mean, we all were like, yeah, this is probably going to be great. And I think based on all the reactions, like everyone's saying it's even better than season 1. Which, I mean, yeah. I'm just happy that it's getting its moment and that people are just like, yeah, Andor is great.
Because, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember when it came out, people were like, oh, this is trash. No?
People were not liking it originally. Yeah, people were like, not into it at first.
People are crazy.
Not everybody, though, but I think there were some pretty, like, sizable...
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were like, nah. Because then didn't Mandalorian or Boba Fett, one of those, came out either right before or right after, and people were like...
Here, let me play this. Let me see.
I'm going to say something great. Okay? Andor is good. It's not great. It hits like a patch where for like 4 episodes, nothing really happens. Like, the pacing is just bad.
See, that's the problem with fans like you. You can't have a dramatic anything
go off
if it's not laser bolts and lightsabers and killing people all the time. You're not interested. How dare you listen to a monologue for once in your fucking life? You actually enjoy it.
We're at the prison. It never ends. The prison never ends. We're stuck there for like 8 episodes of time.
8 episodes?
8 episodes. It's like the 9th episode of the season. We need to be in and out so we can see more character development.
No.
We don't need this.
That's when he when he's in the prison.
When he's gone.
No, when he's in the prison, that's where his true hatred for the Empire comes in. Because he's in the system. You see exactly what Cassian can become. If Cassian stays in there for the rest of his life, he becomes Kino Loy. Okay? And you see that at the beginning.
Yep.
He runs his own floor. He runs his own floor. He is entirely Stockholm Syndrome to whatever, okay? He's head down working until he can get out. And you need to see the other end of the spectrum. In the first episode and a half. Then the second half, you see Kino Loy being like, oh shit, I need to I need to get out of this place. I need to become Cassian. I need to hate the Empire to the extent where I'm going to rebel.
I'm going to say something crazy.
It felt good to see that and to hear that. Because that there were a lot of people who had that in mind, which was like, nothing is happening on the show. It's so, yeah. What do you mean?
I'm so excited. I just keep watching interviews of Diego Luna, Mexican King. There was one interview he did where he was like, I will never do anything as good as this. Ah! And if you know Diego Luna and his work, and that's saying a lot, I think.
Yeah. By the way, I just realized I had the clip that I was talking about earlier about the crypto thing. I wanted to play it for you.
This dog and the relationship, James Gunn has been very upfront about what this dynamic is supposed to be like. That they're working together is a journey in and of itself. He's not the perfect dog for him. Yeah. It's not the dog that immediately listens to him. That this dog is a little rambunctious, a little sporadic, you know?
And what better way to show a good person than to show someone that's frustrated with a dog that's trying to not show their frustration? I love that someone is so kind and wholesome and they're like, okay, like that's I mean, Superman having to deal with something that's erratic and out of his control is so much more interesting than just like, I have heat vision, guys. Like, what do you want?
Trying to exercise the patience.
Yeah.
And another thing too is you're going to watch a relationship grow. Have you guys never had that where there's a pet or an animal who you didn't get along with or didn't get along with you or you're having a hard time and then eventually you become simpatico with them? I have that with the cat we have right now. I was on the final episode of My Cat from Hell because I had that.
Canonically in documentation, he has had that.
There's a cat named Watson where I know it's not the same as a dog, but I've had that where it's like this cat keeps attacking me and keeps hurting me and it's not the way he's treating anybody else, but for some reason this is happening. I'm scared to be around this cat. And it took a long time and now it's been like years without him attacking me and he really trusts me. So I see that in there. And I'm like, why would I want to watch a movie where it's already established? Let's watch the growth. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel that comedic to me. Crypto's a powerful dog, and then the dog helps save him in the end. Otherwise, what's the point of having the dog if the dog can't do anything?
And it's man's best friend, but super level. Like, I want to see that bond form, not be default.
Watching the dog help save him, I don't know where this interpretation has come from. Like, it's suddenly a master.
We've talked about this before, and I can't remember for what it was, but where they show, like, characters who mistreat animals purposely to like visually tell people this is not a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting the opposite of that. And like, granted, I know we all know Superman is like top tier, but like it's different because he is put to the test as to why, you know?
And also in moments like these, what can be a hard job sometimes is making Superman feel relatable.
Yeah.
It's more relatable to being frustrated with a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Manipulating or weakening Superman when I'm like, we don't know what point in the movie this is at, but it would be more pointless to have Crypto there if Crypto doesn't do jack shit.
Right.
So maybe have the super dog there so the dog can actually help out in a fight or help out when Superman's weakened to show his purpose for being there.
Yeah, I don't understand the idea of something assisting something being emasculated. That's such an odd...
It's going in tune with the whole thing of like Superman is like yelling a lot. Superman when he's getting hurt. That's the thing. That was the part that people are jumping on. Is like when the dog's jumping on him, he's like, because the guy's injured.
Yeah.
And the dog's a superpower. The dog has Kryptonian strength. And
it's like if it was a normal dog to us. If the dog is...
Yeah, yeah, dogs jump on us and it's like...
And it hurts!
You're hurting me. You're literally hurting
my
me.
dog
literally does not have his Kryptonian...
Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Oh. That must have been awful. Oh my God.
at the moment.
Also, the healing scene of the sun, like clearly his organs and bones are mending. Like he's repairing himself in that sun. So clearly, there's internal damage when the dog is jumping. Like it doesn't seem that complicated.
The sun thing has been the update on that.
Oh, and then one other thing is we're playing clips here. Have you heard anything about Daredevil? Do you care? No. Well, this is the only thing I can.
Daredevil Born Again. I have a lot to say about the series, and unfortunately, pretty much none of it is good. I got a lot of pushback when I made early reviews of this show from people telling me that I simply had to wait. I couldn't judge it based on just a few episodes. Well, now I've seen the entire thing, and this show is genuinely one of the most disappointing products that the MCU has ever produced, in my opinion, obviously.
Surprised? No, not at all. We called it immediately, and I'm sorry, this is a positive. For me, this is a positive. I'm going to dance all over all you people like, oh no, whatever. You get what you get. You know? You made this bed, now you have to lie in it. You wanted to be part of the MCU so bad? This is what it takes. You're stripped of all of your teeth. You want to be part of the MCU? You got to be just like it. And what comes with that is you kind of sacrifice what made you great in the first place.
But I've seen all of it. I genuinely feel like this show is kind of a perfect representation of all of the ways that the MCU has generally declined in overall quality and artistic integrity over the past few years. And that makes me really sad because, as I have stated many times, I absolutely love Daredevil. I love the character. I've read many of the comic book runs. Some of them are my favorite comic runs of all time, and the original series meant so much to me. Every single time I bring up the original series, my comments are flooded with people who think it's absolutely unreasonable for me to expect the same level of quality from this series as I expected from the original Netflix series. And I am baffled that that is ever a response that people have. Why on earth wouldn't you expect the same level of quality just because, why? Because we're conditioned to expect lesser quality from the MCU now?
And it's fucking Disney.
Yes. And I said this would happen. Years ago, when they they moved the Netflix shows to Disney Plus, I said, hey, this is not going to be a flattering comparison when you can just go on the same streaming service and watch the better seasons.
Exactly my point. And listen, it's not just that this project, Daredevil Born Again, it was very clearly cobbled together from multiple attempts and studio tested into oblivion and studio noted into oblivion. It's not just that it's completely, wildly, tonally inconsistent with itself and the original source material, but it's also that the show wants to pretend like it is engaging on the same level politically with the same message as the original series, and this show is entirely cowardly and intentionally ambiguous in its lack of actual voice and message. This show very obviously and clearly intentionally is trying to co-op on the favorable optics of having something to say without actually saying anything at all. It is very, very clear that they want Wilson Fisk to be this ambiguous, power-hungry bad guy that could be representative of anyone without actually supplying any of the real-world details that matter. Like a lot of the MCU, honestly, this show really doesn't want to engage with the minute socioeconomic and racial tensions of our real world, which I guess is fair enough when you've got the Avengers fighting aliens, but never would have made sense for a story like Daredevil, which is why the original series was very intentional with all of the political commentary that it provided. The character Mrs. Cardenas in season 1 was a Latina woman who was being forced out of her rent-controlled apartment by a slumlord who was backed by Wilson Fisk. In this show, we have cops who are idolizing the Punisher, and there is no racial dynamic, there is no power structure within the cops, and any and every cop is just a TM bad guy without the necessary, again, racial and socio-political context of our real world of why that kind of commentary matters and is relevant. You compare a show like this to a show like HBO's Watchmen, which does the exact same thing but infinitely better, incorporates elements like the Tulsa Race Massacre and confronts these things head on, because that's the only way to tell a story like this if you have any, balls at all. But honestly, for all the people who are going to tell me that they don't give a shit about politics, first of all, good for you. Nobody cares. And second of all, like, that's only part of the reason why this show sucks. All of the character relationships have this unearned intimacy because we don't see any of it. Matthew Murdock has absolutely zero meaningful relationships throughout this entire series. In the original, again, season 1, which, yes, we can and should be referencing that as a reference point, he has a relationship with his priest. He has a relationship with the bartender. Obviously, Foggy and Karen, who are not meaningfully replaced in this show at all. In fact, his love interest in this show is thrown in there just to provide a little bit of, like, conflict, I guess. And then by the end, we see he's like basically pining after Karen all over again. So it's like, okay, did his relationship mean anything at all? I guess not. It certainly never seemed that way watching the show, but I guess now we have confirmation. Sporadic use of violence in this show is also completely confusing to me because for the most part, it feels like they really wanted to tone down the violence so that it could be more family friendly. And even when
really, who could have seen that coming? Who could have seen that coming? Jeez.
It was very obviously not as visceral, not as effective, and not as good looking as the original series. Most of the time, when we would see blood splatter, it's CGI blood splatter that's added in after the fact, which doesn't look as good. But then, of course...
Of course, they would CGI the blood. Okay. You don't need to do that, but okay.
We have Wilson Fisk at the end of the season doing this big gratuitous display of violence, and I find myself wondering what is the point. It's very obviously just for shock value because it's not being incorporated consistently and meaningfully into the plot of the series like it was in the original. So I find myself wondering who this show is even for, except to give these wonderful, talented actors who love these characters jobs, which I guess is the silver lining here, but it's really unfortunate for fans of the original series and people who like their media to mean something. Talked before about how bad the show looks, and I still feel that way. It is poorly lit, it's poorly shot, it has no overall aesthetic, like, creative...
It's poorly lit. It's poorly shot. Doesn't sound like Marvel lately, does it? Come on.
Behind it, which is super unfortunate, especially considering how distinctly beautiful the original series was. But again, like, plot lines just abandoned, and I honestly don't care at all, because I didn't care about a single one of these characters in this show, but like, what was the point of Muse? Like, why? What was the point of that? Character that stands for nothing, that means nothing, that ultimately ends up being a waste of our fucking time. The whole reason why I started doing this, making content, doing this as a job, is because one of the things that brings me the most joy in life is recommending a piece of media that I love to other people and having them tell me, wow, I really love that too. I love it. I love sharing the things that make me feel, my big emotions with other people and getting to hear how it affected them too. And I watched the original season 1 of Daredevil in between when this started and ended, and again for like the millionth time, and it was just as incredible. I love that series. It's so well written. It's so engaging. It's so beautiful. I love it. I think it's a masterpiece. I still love recommending it to people. I don't know who I would ever recommend this show to. I don't even think I would have recommended it to MCU fans. It felt in every conceivable way like a shameful waste of time. If you liked this show, I'm genuinely happy for you. Okay, I understand that people have different expectations and wants from their media than I do, and I'm never trying to say that like you're wrong if you liked it just because I didn't. But the reason why I talk about this for all the people that ask, well, if you don't like it, why do you even watch it? Why do you keep talking about it? Why are you just trying to be a hater? Because I am such a fan of the original series, because I've kept up with the MCU, because I think that it is a bummer that this seems to be falling in line with the general trend of the decrease in quality and care that is being put out by the MCU specifically, because it feels like they're just trying to recycle winning formulas in order to keep squeezing as much money as they can out of existing properties. And I think that that's a bummer. And I think that people should be skeptical of the way that massive media conglomerates are trying to exploit them and the things that they already care about. It's a bummer to me. If you liked it, happy for you. It made me really sad. So I don't really have anything else to say.
All the
except
time.
I always love seeing Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio and
Yep.
Lloyd.
Yeah.
I just wish
Us all the time for sure. But you know what? I feel like there's a reason you and I didn't bother watching a single second of this, because we knew from the very beginning this isn't going to be good. And honestly, like, from what I have heard, it's actually a lot better than what it would have been like if they hadn't like restarted it.
That's insane.
But I think it's just, why would I want to watch a Daredevil show? First of all, that looks ugly. Second of all, it doesn't have Karen or Foggy. And third of all, and this is actually kind of important, I guess I saw a comment on this video. They go the whole season, and Matt Murdock not once walks into a church.
That is crazy. He is the church. I don't know. Like, what?
He's a big Catholic. That's a big part of his identity as a character. And they did nothing with that. It's like, does Kevin Feige, is he okay? Like, you can't even do this? This is the bare minimum.
Oh my
I'm sorry.
God.
You own the rights. I would have tried the hardest I could to get the band back together and just do season 4. That's what I would have done. Because, like, this is insane to me. Like, so it feels like you and I saved ourselves
Dodged
a lot of
bullet?
wasted time. Yeah, for sure. Apparently Foggy didn't dodge that bullet.
I did see that.
Yeah. The idea to remove Karen and Foggy from the show, that should have told you. And the only ones that would get focused would be him and Kingpin and the Punisher. It's like, oh, you're working with such a little boy brain. Like, what the fuck, man? None of the nothing. No, just nothing. So, going from one failed show that we lovingly, not lovingly, but just like love to just crap on, to another one of them. But, you know, speaking of Star Wars Celebration, evidently this fall we're going to get Ahsoka Season 2, and it was confirmed that every episode was written by Dave Filoni. No, Alexis, this could turn into me just saying the obvious, but what does that tell you? As somebody, you know, we all lived Ahsoka Season 1 together, and it was quite the ordeal.
I have a feeling that I will watch it, but it might not be fun. I don't know. I feel like I'm still gonna be like in the Andor high for the rest of the year. That I'm gonna be like, yes. But that's gonna kill.
I mean, by that point, we would have gotten also Tales from the Underworld, and then Andor. It would have pretty good for Star Wars, and then, of course, that's going to come along and probably, like, crap all over that. I just thought it was pretty humiliating. The biggest news was, oh, yeah, Sean Levy made a Star Wars movie, everybody. Isn't that amazing? The director of such amazing masterpieces like Deadpool and Wolverine. Not at the museum. Free Guy. And here's the thing.
Night at the Museum is pretty good.
No, they're not. I don't think any of those movies are awful, but they're not indicative of somebody who should be given
Like,
a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And the only reason he got that job, is because everybody else said, "Fuck you. I'm not working with you." It's how many projects have been announced and canceled at Lucasfilm. Their word means jack shit. And Sean Levy was the best it could get. And then some people were even saying, oh, that's just like a reskin of that Rogue Squadron movie Patty Jenkins was going to do. Go ahead.
Speaking of all of this, I just watched a movie, which I recommend because it was really good. It came out a few years ago. I can't remember if it was maybe 2021, 2022. It's fairly recent. Would you happen to know who Hombres G are?
If you show me a picture, but no, I don't know that name by sound.
Okay, so think of them as like the Spanish U2 or Mana.
Oh, okay.
But for Spain. I think, in my eyes, but I could be wrong. They're a rock en español band.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a movie, like a jukebox musical, which is kind of like Mamma Mia, where they use ABBA music, or Across the Universe, where they use the Beatles music, but they use their music, and it's in Spanish. One of the main characters is a director, and her whole thing is that she doesn't know, like, she's kind of at a standstill in her career. Like, she's won Oscars, she's very successful. But in order to do this movie that she wants to do, she has to do a Marvel movie to get the money. And the whole time, it's them being like, I don't want to fucking do the Marvel movie. And they specifically say Marvel. I was dying. One, I love this movie because I love the music and I love the band and the story is really good. But that part was just like...
Rich.
Yep.
Yeah,
like,
and
I thought
yeah.
it was so funny because it was so effective of just how much she did not want to do that. Like, she didn't want to, like, put herself through that, basically.
I think if you're a woman of color, or even just a woman, you wouldn't want to work with Disney because we've seen how they treat them.
She's not a woman of color. She's from Spain.
Okay.
She is white.
But, I mean, just generally speaking, even if you're a female, why would you want to work for Disney?
Yeah.
After the way they've been treating their female talent. Yeah. Bad timing. For all these things. Yeah, it looks pretty boring. I'm not gonna watch it, so there's that. Anyway. Yeah, I think that's about it. So now we can end the show off in a bang. Because we watched something over the weekend that many people have been really excited about. It is easily, as far as I have seen, the most universally loved across the board movie since Dune Part 2 last year. And it quite easily is the best movie of this year. And I think quite easily will be one of these movies that we will never ever forget about. So if that isn't a way to kind of introduce a movie, I don't know what is. We're going to go ahead and transition into talking about the movie Sinners. Before I get into the synopsis and everything, Alexis, can you go ahead and just talk about your history with Ryan Coogler and where you land with him as a filmmaker and then his past works and how they worked with you or not?
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed all of his movies. I think I haven't seen his first one, so I still need to watch that one. But I love Creed. Creed is, I mean, amazing. I think aside from the one that we're going to talk about today, that one was his best one. Black Panther, I think both of them are good. I think that the impact that those movies have made has stayed with me more so than the movies, though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're bad movies,
but
yeah,
they're
not bad.
No, but they're also they're in this weird space where it's like, no, we can't say that they're bad, but they're also just not movies that really stay with us. They're just kind of like, they kind of just exist out there in the ether, you know, but they're not, none of those films, I think, really stayed with us or really left much of it.
Yeah, like, I remember more people talking about it and how excited they were to see it and that this was happening rather than the movie.
Yeah, for sure. I have seen his first movie. You would love it, by the way. I think
would I be mad? Cry. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Probably.
And I've been watching a lot of his interviews because of the movie recently. I love him. He's
a vibe, isn't
the
he?
way that he talks about his craft and like I think and you could definitely see it in this movie specifically, like the way that he talks about not only his craft but the people that he works with and the people around him, and just like that's I think what I think makes him a really good director and a really good artist, is just like he wants to create a space for these people to create with him, and I don't know. I love him.
No, I agree with you. No. He is genuine, as they say, right? And I think with all of the movies, he's able to bring a lot out of his actors. I think through his script and through his directing.
Yeah, because that's something that we can, I think, or at least for me, that I can say with Black Panthers. I think the way that the movie looks and
how it's acted.
But no, I think the way that the movie looks and what the movie is, I think that's what kind of brings it down for me. But every performance, every message that these movies have tried to make or are making, I think is what is keeping me from saying that these movies are bad. And I think that's all because of him.
It can be argued that Wakanda Forever, especially, might be the best MCU film from an acting standpoint. There can be a legitimate argument for that, while being nowhere near the best, much less top 15. So it's an interesting situation. But I will say, I think universally, the film that everyone loves is Creed, because where the hell did that come from? That was a truly special and powerful movie. Let me look at what I have here on Letterboxd. Dance with the Devil. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. The cast includes Michael B. Jordan in his first role, Miles Catton, Haley Steinfeld, Wunmi Mosaku, Jack O'Connell, Delroy Lindo, Omar Benson Miller, and many more. You want to go first? I can say this. I was trying to look for some stuff here that I wanted to read out there, but I left this experience filled with such hope. That may be the theme of this episode. That despite just the brutality out there against artists and their vision, and just how impossible it is with the infrastructure that exists to get a movie that's good, but to a much less degree even great movie out there, something like this is made. And with every respect and every definition imaginable, this was a movie. This was a special experience. Coogler was able to craft, I think probably, it's up there with Creed, but I think in terms of just which one has his signature stamp, this might be his best movie yet. Just from what he was able to craft here, because I was able to experience a film that not only looked impeccable, but with his collaborations with Ludwig Göransson and the sound design and the score and the editing, this movie just flew. And it flew in places while you were in moments. I think of that, I don't know if it's a meme. It might as well be considered a meme, but it's SpongeBob with earbuds in his he's wearing earbuds and he's flying reaching Nirvana or something. And that's what a lot of this movie made me feel like, where it was just wow, this at no point was okay, I know where this is going, or like, okay, I had enough. Like, no, this was astonishing at how successful it was at being several different things at the same time. This was such a good character study. This was such a good drama. This was such a good romance. This was such an amazing musical. And yes, it was also a horror movie. And it was also such a completely unabashed expression of art. There was a sequence in the middle, especially, that really just transcended what any expectations would be in any single film, much less what an artist like Coogler could hope to achieve with a studio-made movie. By all accounts, this was an A+ movie when it comes to acting, directing, writing, cinematography, music, costume design sure as hell is in there as well. And just about every single department. Coogler should not only be commended but celebrated. And we sure as hell better fight like hell. And show up for him as we are right now, but when it comes to the end of the year, that way that this movie is not forgotten about, because I feel like this is such a unique execution that has all these blends of different genres in there, and yet it works so masterfully, it works so beautifully, and it's such a big swing, and it makes such a big statement too about a lot of societal structures that I think is going to make this a very memorable film. It already is, in my view, and the ending really just stays with you. There's so many little layers that are sprinkled throughout, and it's speaking to so many different things, but it doesn't feel like it's it has too many hands in the air and you're not sure where to go. It kind of all seemingly is working in tandem with each other. The characters themselves, I think what's so masterful is how much time is spent setting up what's going to happen, that you grow to love these people, and they're the actual ending of the film is just like wow. I've seen this 3 times already. I know. It's been a while since I've seen a film in its opening weekend 3 times, mind you. It's been a minute. But it got better every time, and it flew by.
I mean, even the first,
every time I want, yes,
it was
yes,
I wanted more. I wanted,
yeah. This was a special movie, I gotta tell you, and I loved it. Alexis,
it was so good. I went by myself. I was smiling the whole time and crying, but smiling for the most part. I sat in the side with the 2 seats. I literally kept looking at everybody around me are you watching this?
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Are we experiencing this together? And it was so funny because there was a lot of people around me reacting to different things, but they were good, because sometimes it's just but no, I don't know, it made it a lot better that even though I was alone, we were all in it. We were there to watch this movie, and we had an idea, I think, we had people that had already watched it, so we had to wait outside of the movie theater, and it was a packed theater. I saw it last night at, I don't even know, 8:30. I saw it in IMAX. I splurged. And there was people that had already seen it, and they were just this is my 3rd time watching it. I can't stop. And everybody
They're buzzing
needs to
about
stay.
it. Wow.
It was so much fun. And this movie is so good. And I can't believe that we are watching this.
Yeah. It's highly entertaining. That's a big part of it too. It's highly entertaining. There's so many wonderful beats here, character beats, but then also just moments of comedy too. There's a lot of factors that I think make this movie work so well. I mean, first and foremost, you have to like the characters, and to like that, you have to like the actors themselves. And I mean this sincerely. Every single person in here made the most of their time. You know, we had the Smokestack Twins, which were incredible. We had the Preacher Boy. We had Slim, which was Delroy Lindo's character. We had Annie, who was Smoke's, I guess, ex-wife. And then we also had Mary, who was Stack's girl, played by Haley Steinfeld. We had this whole world of people. And then we had some other minor ones in there too, like Cornbread, who ended up, being the guard at the door. We also had I guess what would be the love interest for the Preacher Boy, which would be, I forget her name, honestly. But then you also have you have Grace, I believe, who runs the food shop.
Oh, the Bo?
And her husband.
Bo? That's her last name, right?
Bo. Yes, Bo. I think Bo is the name of the husband. Bo and Grace.
The husband. I thought that was her last name.
The fact that I can remember these names, I'm like, that should tell you the impact of this movie left on me. That I can remember these. I mean, yes, but still, names of that could be. But you remembered Bo. I didn't remember Bo. So I'm telling you, that should tell people who are watching that the impact that it leaves on you. All of them were outstanding here. And not all of them have the same amount of screen time, but they all do the most with their screen time. I was just kind of amazed how well it was all flowing together. And in my third time watching it, I was kind of like low-key laughing because like there's a little bit of a Marvel connection in there. Aside from the post and mid-credit stuff, which we'll get to, but like, tell me that the first act of this movie isn't just the first act of the Avengers, which is just like we're collecting all the members of the team here basically, and we're setting everything up, which is I think to me, if you want to view it as setup, sure, fine, but this would be in a field of onto its own. The best kind of setup, which is like it's not feeling like we're setting anything up. It just feels like we're getting to know
their stories.
These characters. Yes,
and or showing us, that scene where they're driving, and not even like when he starts playing the guitar. It's like right before that, where they pass the people who
prisoners.
And he starts singing. You immediately clock what they're trying to portray in that, and not even like with the prisoners, just him and the music. Like this is why this music originated the way that it did, and this is why we sing this way. And just that little like amazing.
There's so many ways that this film comes to life. We need to take this time to appreciate Ruth E. Carter. Her costumes, like, I don't know what it was. Look, I think Wakanda Forever had great costumes, except for one or two. Didn't look the best. But here, every costume, like, wow, I don't know what it is, but I'm like really noticing these costumes. Like, they feel so great. The cinematography, who apparently was the same cinematographer for Wakanda Forever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Lighting and shadows. It's
yeah. But yeah, Ruth E. Carter, we've talked about her before. She's amazing.
Yeah.
This is not the first time she's worked with Spike Lee before. She's done so much, and she's amazing, and she deserves everything.
She's already won 2 Academy Awards, and she might win a 3rd. With this one, because this is a truly, honestly, great masterwork that we have here. Music was a standout in this film for many reasons. First of all, just as a brief aside, because this is in relation to sound design, Did you got to all those little quick jump scares?
Oh yeah. Again, I went by my. I almost didn't go because I was like, "Fuck!" Like nobody's saying how scary this movie is. Why? So I almost didn't go because of that, because I knew that I was gonna go alone. But I was like, no, I have to go, and it did get me.
Did I mention, by the way, that one of the nights that I was driving back from the theater, I literally saw a bat above me?
Nope.
There's a bat flying above me.
Nope.
Yeah. No, but all those little jump scares, they got me. Even the second and third time, when I've already seen the movie, they still got, like, the snake one always got me.
But I hate
just
snakes.
Kind of happens. Yeah. That last showing, which was yesterday, what I loved, the audience got a little animated toward the end, where the brother kind of came back to life in the closet, and they were like,
yeah, no,
then,
I was looking down the whole time. I was like, I can't do this. I knew that he wasn't gonna look scary. It was just like I don't like to feel suspense, so I literally was like this the whole time. But I was like, I can't. I know that you're there, but I can't.
And then the one that got everybody was like in that same scene. There was that knife that he stuck to the door.
Oh yeah.
Beautifully done. I think the first jump scare that we got was, which we'll talk about in a bit, was the father, and that was a.
I didn't see what happened, but yeah.
Yeah. The music here. Okay, the score.
I think people have pointed it out already. So in Disney movies, like the animated ones, one of my favorite things, especially, they don't do it as much now or at all now, but in the first ones, I think more noticeably in Peter Pan, Alice, and Cinderella. But my favorite thing is when they incorporate the music with the movements of the characters. And they do that here so much, and I was eating it up, and I was so excited, because I love that so much.
Yeah, definitely. Despite the fact that, I mean, not despite, but also in addition to it, how it sounded great to begin with. You know, this was one of these movies where the score was a character in the movie. Even the theme that would play, like the bum bum bum, as it transitions from like when the vampire stuff is officially happening, that was like, oh my god! And then even that musical moment, where he's in flames and his spirit's about to release back into wherever it is, like that. Perfect stuff right there. But to, I think, my great surprise, and I think to everybody who watches this movie, this film, it reminds me of a Complete Unknown from last year. A Complete Unknown was just all performances, but they had some legit musical performances in this movie that were all adding to something, but on their own, just beautiful. I mean, there's the major one, but it also kept going because I believe there were like 2 Irish songs that were performed here. Go Lassie Go, there was a soft one, and then later in the movie there was like this big, I think it was something to Dublin. So, what was the name of it? Something Dublin? Yeah, Road to Dublin, I think, maybe?
Dublin? I can't remember the name.
Might be that
but yeah,
one.
it's like a big Irish folk song, important
They
song.
also had another one, which I think works thematically, like something Robin Queen or Robin Queen or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Yeah, but obviously all of these songs were specifically picked for a purpose, and they all sounded great. That musical performance in the middle of the film, can you just describe what you were feeling like when that happened?
No.
No?
To me, okay. We kind of talked about it last night after I finished watching the movie, where this, and I feel like it impacted me so much because I am somebody who loves going to concerts. Our family, the way that we, and they do this in the movie as well. This is what the movie is about. But like my family, the way that we all come together, like the thing that we all kind of are like, yes, we all love this. This is how we communicate with each other. This is how we are just all in the same place together, like just being one, being a family, and not just like my mom and dad, my brother, like my entire family, is when we listen to music. When, you know, we all love the same bands, all the same type of music, even if we divert a little bit, like we still are like, yes, like you love that, I love that too. Even if I don't understand it, I love it because you are enjoying it so much. And this is, to me, the closest that I can put, I guess, visually, like a religious experience that's like, this is what it is about, you know? And the fact that he, like, I think depicted it so perfectly, like, that will forever live with me.
Yeah, this is a sequence that's gonna forever live with people because I feel like you're not really prepared for it until it actually happens. But like it is the definition of just like this spiritual explosion that's reaching across the cosmos through space-time itself. And I mean, it's just talk about execution, just like beautifully, right? Then it also has like, you know, with films, a lot of the times when you're getting, you know, sequences like these, I think some audiences may be of the mind where it's like, well, this is like really having no, you know, this is not really part of the story. It's just like a, you know, it's like a cutaway scene.
This is the movie.
This is the movie. And it is the reason why the vampires come knocking on their door.
I will go as far as to say this is why this movie was made. In all of his interviews, he will say, first and foremost, this is a movie about blues music.
Yeah.
Then you can divert into what everything else is about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And for people to, like, not understand this scene, I think is insane.
Yeah. Can we stop this recording and go watch it right now? That's what I feel like, honestly, when we're talking about this. But no, it's very much the truth. And it was one of those things where I'm just like, did I just watch that? Did I just watch that? Gosh. And then the way, I mean, it's a one or two. We didn't talk about how it's a one, and then it pans up to the ceiling and it's burning down, and then that guitar, and oh my.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. It's pretty sensational, honestly. So, and then even like the stuff that happens toward the end too, with I guess you could call it an epilogue or something. That we'll get to that in a bit. So from a music standpoint, incredible, great job.
I have a little story, kind of.
Yes,
very small,
please.
And it kind of pertains to this scene. I saw a video of somebody talking about this person was Mexican American and he married somebody from like, I want to say like Guatemala or something. So like fully Mexican, you know, and you know that there's a difference. And in the video he says, or he mentions a couple of things that he had a culture shock with one, his own culture, and two, people from, you know, the country that his family came from. And one of those things was, I didn't realize how vast, like, Spanish or Latin music is. Like, yes, we get, like, the normal music that we get here, but, like, and he goes into saying, my wife listens to cumbias, my wife listens to salsa. I didn't realize, and like that hit me because I have cousins who live in Mexico, And we had a conversation one time where I was like, oh, well, you know, like the music that we grew up with. And this was like, I listen to a lot of my dad's music, which is like my favorite music today. And she goes, well, you know, I didn't really, like, yes, I love that music too, and that's like a big part of my life, but like that's not the music I grew up with. I grew up with that type of music because of my mom, because that's where I'm from. And like the way that kind of ties into what is happening here, and just like all the ties to everybody's lineage, and you know, I don't know, I felt that so deeply that I was like, okay. And like I had just watched that video before going into this movie too, so I was a hot mess.
It's an emotional time, that's for sure, right? Jeez, man. Well, there's a lot of places to go with, but I want to say, as far as like we're gonna start complimenting performances, there's a lot of people to compliment here. Michael B. Jordan, I think, is just continuing to prove why he just has it in every single movie that he's in. To be able to play two twins convincingly, I love Stack, I love Smoke. I mean, they're just incredible the way that they're portrayed here. I mean, and if I could see the same thing about every single person, I'm very happy for specifically Wunmi Masaku, who plays Annie, because you know, I think I'm trying to look at her credits. The first time I ever saw her, she was that character that I think got like cut. Most of her scenes were cut from Batman versus Superman, of all things. You can remember that.
Oh,
it was a forgettable character. It wasn't even a character; it was like a plot device, but it was just like very minor. But she ended up being killed by Lex Luthor's thugs after she was a prop in the trial, I think, or whatever. So it wasn't a big role, but she was, I think, first there. And then we next would see her. I think she played a time agent on Loki and then Deadpool and Wolverine. So, and then she's had other parts here and there, like I think she was in the first Fantastic Beasts movie, it says here. I don't remember what role, but I barely remember the movie.
Yeah.
So I can't even tell you what that would be. But I think really this is the first project where I really feel she gets the chance to prove what a tremendous force she is. Like she was, I think, kind of, you know, she was revelatory here. She was like, wow. Like I would not think. But she basically just about pulled off like leading lady material. It's like how great she was in here. Haley Steinfeld's been somebody who's been appreciated from the very beginning. I gotta tell you, it took me a minute to realize it was her. I don't know why. Maybe because I haven't seen her in a movie in a bit. But she, come on. I've always said, you know, sing praises about Delroy Lindo, so very happy. But I think like the one that we should talk about most would be Miles, right? This is his first ever movie. Miles Kitten, who, come on. I mean, of all the things to have your film, you know, your film debut in, this one, and apparently he was encouraged to audition by her.
By Haley?
The artist, musical artist, her.
Oh, her. I'm like, who are you talking about?
Yeah. That's what happens when you call yourself her. Anyway, his voice is outstanding.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of the perfect voice for blues too. So I can only imagine the look on Ryan Coogler's face when he saw that audition. I'm like, I think I finally got it. Like, this is exactly what it should be. Oh, and then Jack O'Connell, who I don't know. Have you liked him in anything before this?
I heard he came out in Skins, the British version, I think, which I didn't watch.
I see a filmography here that I'm just kind of blah about. He was in Ferrari, This Is England, Unbroken, Rise of the Empire, Eden Lake. He's gonna be in the upcoming 28 Years Later.
Okay. I have seen that people were like, well, finally, like, he gets to, like...
be in something, like, notable. Which, I mean, yeah. No, man. It was just a wonderful ensemble, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, this is just perfect. Getting into spoilers? What do you want to say? What parts surprised you? What stood out? What got you? What did you not see coming? You know?
The Irish.
Yeah, you went to Ireland recently.
I love me the Irish people.
Clearly.
Forever a Twilight girly. You know I'm gonna eat up a vampire roll. This is amazing. He was so good, and like the way that they used the character of a vampire in this movie, love it. I love that we got Nosferatu. I love that we are getting this one.
That's the first movie I watched after Sinners Nosferatu. Because I was already in the mood, you know? For that kind of story. So, yeah. There was a part of me that when the vampire stuff started happening, I was like, oh, that's right. I forgot this was part of the movie. And then I was like, oh, but I was having such a good time at this being just like a hangout drama kind of movie. And then, no, it ended up, there was no reason to be concerned about it whatsoever. It ended up being just exactly what it should have been from the beginning. I'm going to read some stuff here that I shared with you already, but just to keep us on track. Ethan Simi. I can't stop thinking about the relationship that Smoke has with Stack and vice versa. The color of their costumes, the conversations and lessons they impart on one another, their transfixing energy, and most importantly, their deep emotional bond moves me to tears in thinking about it. It is, I think, one of the ways that this film is special is that it completely refuses to entertain toxic masculinity. That's not something that even exists here, except for in the ways that it's represented through their abusive father. Mm-hmm. But these guys, they're tough as nails, man. They're criminals, probably murderers too, but they're sweet, loving, and tender with each other. They say, I love you. They think they both say, I love you to each other, and then also to their respective partners. And I think that's progress and growth. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something that some people might be like, you know.
Like, why wouldn't you be that way with your sibling? And then your twin? Please.
Yeah, and I mean, especially with all the things that they went through, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. By the way, can I just ask you, what was your favorite shot from the movie? A lot of people are going off about that sunset one, mm-hmm. with Stack and Smoke are seeing the sunset for the last time together.
Mine is when they're driving in the car and he starts playing the guitar.
It's a tough one.
And not to say that the sunset one isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that one because the sunset one is a little like sad, whereas the one in the car, it's more like, no, they're living in the happy moment, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is one of those sad moments. Again, emotionally, this is Courtney Howard. You get emotionally overwhelmed during the scene where Slim, played by Delroy Lindo, recounts the story of his friend's lynching. And we are hearing that scene play out on the audio channels. By the way, when you were watching that, were you kind of a little bit thrown off at what you were hearing underneath it? Because I was just like, wait, is that what you think
I
it is?
thought they were gonna show it.
This is better this way.
Yeah.
Much better. Yeah, deeply dark stuff here. And then a lot of people have been making interesting connections of, like, you know, the Irish and to what is going on here with the movie. Dropout Jacob says, can't stop thinking about the significance of the main vampire being Irish in Sinners. He empathizes with the oppression of Black Americans, but ultimately weaponizes his whiteness to become the thing he hated most by forcing his way of life onto them. It makes you wonder, how old is this vampire? I always wondered. And they have some interesting, like, moments. The money that he carries, different place, different time. I wonder how far back it goes.
Find out in the
Just
next
an interesting
one.
question. Yeah, sure. Yeah, in Sinners too, yeah. Or in the, what was it called? What's it? Remlick, A Sinner's Story. Great.
I don't think I would want to watch like an origin story of him. I would want the movie with the Native Americans and why they're chasing him.
And that's funny because, like, that reminds me of, have you ever watched The Thing? John Carpenter's The Thing? So in that movie, it starts, so that's basically a movie where, like, this monster comes in and it kills everybody, right? But at the beginning of the film, the monster is in disguise, and the people that came before are in pursuit of it, the survivors. And they don't make it. So that is a mystery of the whole movie. What the hell was going on there? But here, we could kind of tell what was happening. And the Native Americans just like, okay, well, our part's done. Bye.
That was,
Which was
so funny. Love that for them.
What were they going to do? I mean, if they continue to stay there, they likely would have been pushed in the way to be killed. So, yeah. Joe Bro. Coogler puts so much depth, pain, and character in the first 90 minutes of Sinners. Part of me was hoping it just stayed a drama about two gangster brothers coming home to Mississippi. Luckily, that vampire shit is just as cool. It was. Yeah.
I mean,
Jillian Chili, go ahead.
No, yeah, like, I mean, we were talking about it earlier, just the way that they used the symbolism of vampires, and it was one of the things that somebody has said is, like, nobody wins and nobody loses. I mean, obviously those who died, but, like, with the main cast. It was all supposed to happen, and this, like, I don't know, this thing with, like, what both sides wanted, like, at the end of the day, it was the same thing.
Yeah, it was family. It was freedom. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting here. Jillian Chili, the parallels presented in Sinners between the colonized Ireland and the Jim Crow South of two marginalized groups have differences in the ideology of freedom, with one continuing the vicious cycle of its oppressors disguised as empathy is chef's kiss. You had mentioned something about colonization, that being a big thing with you. I don't know if that's something you wanted to touch on.
Not being a big thing? What'd you say?
Colonization.
Yes.
And how that was a big theme for you here in this movie.
Yes. And
one thing before you get to it. Art House Sean Levy. Because there isn't a real... That's a funny name. It is a very interesting choice to make the head vampire Irish. Really drives the metaphor for assimilation / capitalism home in a subtle way. Go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last night. Him bringing the Irish culture into this movie and their traumas and comparing them. Obviously, like, I don't like saying, like, one is worse than the other, because at the end of the day, people got hurt, and it's not good regardless. But, like, the topic of, I mean, that scene where he, what's his name? Preacher Boy starts reciting scripture.
Our Father, yeah.
Amazing. And him just being, basically laughing in his face and being like, we're in this together, bro. Like, I love it. I loved it. Because that goes through my head daily.
The Brendan Hodges. The men and sinners live or die for the women they love, and it's rare to see a big studio movie, much less an R-rated horror one, or one set in the Jim Crow South, be so unapologetic about this. It's probably the most anachronistic touch in the movie, but it's really lovely. I love how Sinners slyly handles the issue of masculinity. The three main male characters are openly loving and direct, unafraid of looking vulnerable or quote-unquote weak to their better halves, while expressing how they really feel. It's one of the reasons it's an incredible romantic movie. And I noticed that was a big part of it too, the romance. And then also had a additional layer of edge when it came to sex being very much in this movie a lot. Which added, I think, definitely, then it took away, where people would be very weird about that, unfortunately, when it comes to, that issue. This is a funny one. Joanna Robinson tweeted, I think it offends some film bros to call Sinners a musical, and I would have been willing to entertain their arguments against, right up until Jack O'Connell started slip jigging to Rocky Road to Dublin. It's a musical. Get over yourselves. Musicals rule. Joanna rocks. I think what's really special, it's like, it's weird, right? Because I feel like this is one of those things where, like, through the vampire shit, for the most part, there seems to be a happy ending for everybody involved. Which is not what you would expect out of a horror film, but it's like you learn that the KKK was going to come up in here and shoot everybody up. And it was going to end in bloodshed. It was going to end in tragedy. But like, through the vampires.
At least, like, with the vampire, like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, the real villain, because even, like, with the vampires, they didn't have this, like, I mean, they had, like, a battle, but they didn't have, like, the way that it happened with the KKK.
I mean, the vampires are going to kill them, but with the understanding that they would come back to life.
Yeah.
It was basically, I guess from the perspective of the vampires, they weren't really killing them so much as they were giving them eternal life. Whereas the KKK, no, they just wanted to murder them.
They wanted to execute them. And basically, that's not to say that what the vampires were doing was right.
No.
It is not. But
it worked out for other characters because of that, because I feel like, Smoke obviously ended up dying after he ended up taking his revenge, but he ended up in a afterlife with Annie and their baby. Beautiful ending right there for that character. With Sammy, that's the character, Sammy, Preacher Boy. Sammy had a successful music career and lived a full life. And then And by the way, when this happens, I was like blown away. Like, oh, wait, I was like, what the hell's going on here? I didn't realize that Mary and Stack got away.
Yeah, no. Well,
The
they don't
whole
really
time
show it.
they don't show it, but like, I guess that third time around, I'm like, oh. But so much is happening.
What do you mean the third time around?
The third time around, when I was watching the climax go down, I realized they don't show
like
Stack
what happens
getting away
okay.
and Mary getting away. So then I realized, okay, this is where I was meant to clock that those two weren't going to die here. Because when you see them in the end, the real ending, it's like, wait, what? And then, of course, the first question that Sammy asks is like, how? Because we're all like, because did that take you away too? Like the first time when you watched it?
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
What's
all
gonna
right.
happen here too? It's
Yeah.
like, it almost like felt like, are they here like the Grim Reaper or something to like take him? I was like, which way is this gonna go?
Yeah,
And
no,
then
yeah, I
basically
was kind of like, oh shit, but also in my head, I was like, how? Like, well, I guess that I did think a little bit like, did he also turn and we just didn't know? But he was old, so I was like, I don't know what's going on here. Right. Or I also thought like that the guitar was like his totem.
Okay. Maybe.
Which I mean, I guess in a way it is.
Yeah. But no, how that was beautifully tied together. I mean, but at the same time, it's like, well, it gave Stack and Mary a happy ending too, because they got to be together in their own way. So it was just like, it was a hell of an experience watching this film. And also just like a film that didn't hold back on the violence either. Mm-mm. I'll just say that there. But yeah.
Another thing that somebody pointed out too, because Preacher Boy's character is supposed to be I forgot the name of the singer. I want to say he's the first blues singer that became very recognizable.
Which singer?
What's his name? Like an actual singer, a blues singer, the one that made the deal with the devil. I forgot his name, but that's who he's supposed to represent. And then I like that they kind of turned it around where I mean, in a way, because it was kind of the end, the church scene with his dad was his crossroad, but it also came back and was like, this is also like your crossroad. Where do you want to continue what you're doing, or are you okay with living the life that you have lived?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like interesting because, you know, the one thing that we know for sure is like we're all gonna die, and the fact that he was like okay and at peace with being like, no, this is it, and like just like the contrast to before where he was like, no, I'm gonna go live my life. I found that so cool.
It is. I thought it was a very bold and empowering decision to at least what this movie was commentating when it came to organized religion, especially the decision that Sammy makes at the end. I'm sure a lot of people were not happy with that. What do you think?
I say sucks to suck. I'm sorry. I cannot get behind all of that. And I'm so happy that we got this movie and the ending and this character, and that he chose that because that's what it is all about at the end of the day. Live your life, be happy, don't hurt people. That's it.
Yeah. I think it was beautifully put. And yeah, I think it ironically made it for a perfect Easter movie.
Yep. Best
with,
Easter I've had.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about the movie?
I need to watch it again.
Oh yeah. For sure. And I'm also I hope Ryan Coogler doesn't make Black Panther 3 next. I hope he does something else. I'm not really interested in Black Panther 3. I don't even think they're doing that for a long time. Anyway.
Yeah. Is it in the talks? What's happening?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. Don't bother with it. Do something else.
Please.
Yeah,
I like
please.
how your brain works.
Yeah. Let's, because I feel like let's not allow ourselves to be put in a cage by Disney in this situation. Well, with that being said, everybody, I want to go ahead and end it off here. Alexis, thank you very much for being here. And I think we may see you soon for something else. We'll see. Stay tuned, everybody, here for Red Spotlight for more content and more, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.